Foreign Titbits this afternoon. Heavy gunfire in Guinea-Bissau's capital hours after National Guard soldiers free a detained minister, senior state official. Dangers of climate change no longer distant risk, King Charles reveals in his address. And Israel resumes Gaza bombing after truce expires. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Foreign Titbits coming to you live from Rstv Television, Channel 22 here in Port Harcourt. I'm Utuna here as the winner. Heavy gunfire has been reported in Guinea-Bissau's capital this morning, hours after some National Guard soldiers went to free a detained minister and a senior state official. Members of the National Guard took the officials before seeking refuge in barracks south of the capital. Special forces then intervened after attempts to negotiate failed, resulting in an exchange of gunfire. Calm is said to have been restored. The Finance Minister, Suleiman Saidi, and the Secretary of State for the Treasury, Antonio Montero, had been detained, and investigations into the alleged irregular withdrawal of $10 million of state funds. They were questioned Thursday afternoon by an anti-corruption inquiry to clarify the payments to 11 companies. Children in Kenya have been vaccinated with the world's first WHO-recommended malaria vaccine, RTSS vaccine, one of the 3 pilot countries that participated in the malaria vaccine implementation program. Shipments of the world's first WHO-recommended malaria vaccine, RTSS, have begun with 331,200 doses landing in Yaoundé, Cameroon. The delivery is the first to a country not previously involved in the malaria vaccine pilot program and signals that scale-up of vaccination against malaria across the highest risk areas on the African continent will begin shortly. A further 1.7 million doses of the RTSS vaccine are expected to arrive in Burkina Faso, Liberia, Niger, and Sierra Leone in the coming weeks, with additional African countries set to receive doses in the months ahead. In a campaign rally in the troubled eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo, presidential candidate Martin Fayulu took center stage addressing a crowd of fervent supporters in Goma. Fayulu, one of President Felix Tshisekedi's main contenders in the upcoming December 20 presidential election, seized the opportunity to critique the government's imposition of a state of siege. Speaking from a podium in Goma, Fayulu questioned the effectiveness of Tshisekedi's leadership, asking the crowd if they enjoy peace and security ever since Felix Tshisekedi had been in power. The presidential candidate denounced the state of siege imposed in May 2021 in the provinces of North Kivu and Ituri, both grappling with violence from armed groups. Fayulu expressed his commitment to establishing the rule of law, criticizing what he viewed as the arbitrary imposition of a state of siege by President Tshisekedi. And moving away from African reports now, King Charles III has begun addressing the COP28 climate summit in Dubai. In his address, he extended his heartfelt gratitude to the United Arab Emirates president for inviting him to the opening of this year's summit. The king said it was a landmark movement of hope and optimism when nations put differences to one side for the common good. According to him, he spent a large proportion of his life trying to warn of the existential threats facing mankind over global warming, climate change, and biodiversity loss. The king says the dangers of climate change are no longer distant risks, as he recalls on communities across the Commonwealth, such as India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, that are currently unable to withstand repeated shocks. Heavy Heavy fighting has broken out across the Gaza Strip as the Israeli military resumed combat operations against Hamas after efforts to extend the truce failed. The resumption of hostilities came about 7 a.m. local time today, Friday, as a deadline for the end of the week-long pause passed. Israeli airstrikes have been reported across the enclave, including the south, which was previously said to be safe for fleeing civilians. Gaza's health minister said that dozens of Palestinians were killed and injured during the initial resumption of Israeli strikes. Reports of rockets and gunfire had emerged in the hour before the temporary truce expired. Israel said that Hamas had violated the agreement. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed that Hamas did not agree to release further hostages, infringing the terms of the truce. Hamas is yet to respond. Meanwhile, Palestinian prisoners released from Israeli jails said that guards carried out abuse and collective punishment in the weeks after the Hamas attacks on Israel on 7th October. They have described being hit with sticks, having muzzled dogs set on them, and their clothes, food and blankets taken away. One female prisoner said she was threatened with rape and that guards twice tear gas inmates inside the cell. The Palestinian Prisoner Society says some guards are alleged to have urinated on handcuffed prisoners, stressing that 6 prisoners have died in Israeli custody in the past 7 weeks. Israel says all its prisoners are detained according to the law. A reporter with Hong Kong's South China Morning Post has gone missing in China after a work trip, a Japanese news outlet has reported, raising fears that she has been detained by Chinese authorities. Minnie Chen, an award-winning reporter specializing in Chinese defense and diplomacy, traveled to Beijing to attend the Xianchan Forum but became unreachable after the end of the 3-day security conference on October 31, Kyodo News reported Thursday, citing people familiar with the matter. The South China Morning Post, which is owned by Chinese tech giant Alibaba, did not respond to newsmen's request for a comment. The Post said that Chan was on personal leave without elaborating further due to privacy concerns. Chan was working for the Post since 2005, according to the newspaper's website, as a most recent article published on November 1 discussed China's mediating role in the war in Gaza. United States presidential candidate Ron DeSantis and California Governor Gavin Newsom have faced off in a television debate billed as a potential preview of the 2028 presidential race. The matchup between DeSantis, the governor of Florida, and Newsom, an ally of President Joe Biden, who is widely expected to mount a future White House bid, was filled with policy clashes and personal insults. DeSantis labeled Newsom a liar in charge of a failing state, while Newsom ridiculed his Florida rival as a bully who is badly losing to Republican presidential rival Donald Trump. The debate, hosted by Sean Hannity, was held in a television studio with no audience in Georgia, a key swing state. As leaders of 2 of the 3 most populous states, DeSantis and Newsom have spent much of the past year attacking each other's policy choices and leadership styles from afar. And with that, we conclude Foreign Titbits. But before we go, let's take a look at some of the stories we brought. Heavy gunfire has been reported in Guinea-Bissau's capital this morning, hours after some National Guard soldiers went to free a detained minister and a senior state official. Danger